Okay, well, we've got to talk about our schools, which is in hot debate. There was a online poll of MCPS students, parents this week, as to whether or not the school system should be opened up. And there is more and more proof that comes out that school-age children are not physically impacted by the COVID and being in school, but are being negatively impacted by not being in school, particularly low-income and special needs students. Maryland School Superintendent Karen Solomon said that Maryland public schools are safe to open with certain guardrails. Yet here in Montgomery County, there is a reluctance by both parents and teachers to in-person learning. Susan, private schools have been open with little disruption since September. Why can't Montgomery County public schools open up for more in-person learning?
We don't exactly know about the disruptions because it's private information. And I know of at least one of the biggest private schools in the county has closed down and gone to virtual because they consider it too dangerous to be there in person. And yes, maybe children go to sick, but they transfer it to other people. And you have to remember they're bus drivers, sanitary workers, there are teachers, and they're older. So it is dangerous. Is it ideal? Heavens, no. And we have...
Mark, behind the scenes, the executive is working with all of the public unions, McGeo, SEIU, MCEA, to rapidly, as fast as possible, get the air handling in the schools. That's the biggest problem we're having with the schools and opening them, is the air exchange systems. They're all working as hard as they can, because we do need our schools open.
And that's the same issue with restaurants, the air exchange systems. And that is very costly, and there has been no help from anywhere to do that.
So Susan, if a restaurant had an air exchange system, would you allow them to be open?
I think if they can prove that they've done it, there should be some sort of certification they could put on their door. I think that's possible. And I just read yesterday of someone who has one of those air things and went around and checked restaurants and was appalled at what he found. So if they do that, yes, I think they should get approved.
That's not part of the policy though, is it?
It hasn't been suggested. Maybe you should make that suggestion.
Yeah, good chance getting that passed. So Laurie, we only got a couple of minutes on this. We are learning that minority students are suffering the most from a lack of in-person learning. Why is this being tolerated by our school superintendent? And more importantly, why aren't parents more up in arms about this?
We looked at the last Board of Ed meeting, they released some very troubling data. They said that Black children in poverty have increased their failing rates by 15.5%, and that the Hispanic students of poverty increased by 24.2%. Jack Smith he's got a very tough job. He has to work with teachers union and the parents and all the elected officials. So he needs people to help him make a decision. It takes a very strong leader to be able to go against what all of our far left county councilmen are saying. However, our Board of Ed is slowly changing. It's been Rebecca Smondrowski all along. She's always been saying open the schools. Finally, we're hearing a few more of the Board of Ed members are now saying they'd like to see schools open and are waiting till we have more data, just make the final decision on that. But I'd say fear is driving it. We have parents who are afraid. They are afraid because of the stuff you get in the media. They're all afraid to put their kids back in school. So that's why many of them have chosen on the survey to say they want their kids to stay at home. We've got our far left officials.
What I'm concerned about, we're going to have a whole year go by where the majority of the students will not have learned enough really to matriculate going forward. Are we going to have to have all of those students, in effect, repeat the year?
There is that effort
no, that will never happen.
Forward, Casey, already.
Why not? Why won't?
Well, it is a thought that's being put forth, Laurie, that this year should not count, and I believe they're counting another.
Yeah, but shouldn't those students?
The grading has already changed slightly, but I think they're going to maybe relax the grades a little bit. But they've never had the philosophy of holding kids back. That has always been something.
It's not holding it back. It's that the year across the board doesn't count.
But
Doesn't matter whether
what about those
you're in
students that have been able to continue to learn? So I mean, basically what we ought to do is figure out who's behind and who's been able to stay up and make the appropriate adjustments, as opposed to simply applying a single, again, one-size-fits-all approach to everybody, which seems to be your recommendation.
But equity is the problem there, because you're going to have the minority students are going to be held, they're going to have to redo a lot of things, while other kids who've had help from parents and from other places will not have to, they need to keep learning, but they're going to be the ones held back because of this generalization that everyone's making.
Well, we got to wrap this up very quick. I'm sorry, we got to wrap this up very quickly because when we come back from our break, I want to talk about the county council and some of the bills that they have just proposed. So stay tuned for more of 21 this week when we come back from the short break.